and welcome back to the Peculiar Place podcast. This is our segment, 2 Vees in a Pod. Mandii Vee and Jessii Vee here. Hello.
Hi.
We skipped a week. We're so sorry about that. I got sick. I had COVID. Cannot say the name because for some reason algorithms on any platform do not like hearing about it, talking about it, nothing. So it's like Voldemort. You can't say the name. But yeah, I had that for the second time. And I think you've had it a couple times too, right?
I'm sure, for sure I've had it twice, absolutely. But I'm positive that I had it last month. Yeah. I just didn't take a test.
Second time is definitely easier, but still not fun. Ty was worse off than me this time. But that's why we were gone. Got it from a wedding. It was a really fun wedding. We had our family come from all over the place to come to this wedding. And actually, that reminds me, the first episode we didn't mention this. So many people are surprised to hear this about us, but our mom's side of the family is from the Caribbean, and our dad's side is from Estonia. But we are more from the Caribbean because our mom was born in Barbados. Her mom, our grandmother, was born in Barbados, and her father, our grandfather, was born in Trinidad. And really, a few months after I was born, we went and moved to Antigua, which is an island in the Caribbean. So, we're, a lot of our blood is from the Caribbean, and most people don't
the islands
expect that.
I know.
It's just a pretty cool fact.
But our ancestry stems from Ireland, right?
Of course.
Way back. And actually, I
course.
asked Poppy about this a while ago, and apparently it happened during the potato famine.
I did not know anything about that.
Yeah, we came from Ireland to Barbados during the potato famine.
Cool.
Which is cool to think about that we originate from Ireland too.
Yeah.
I wish we had family there.
I'm sure we
totally
do
go
way far back.
But we don't know them.
Yeah.
We don't know them.
Distant
I would
family.
love to visit Ireland, the UK.
I love the accents there.
I know.
It's just so heartwarming and almost comforting, that accent. I know that sounds
I feel like
weird.
we'd be really happy in Ireland.
Yeah, or Scotland.
I know, Scotland too.
With castles.
But I mean, Grandma is Scottish,
She
so
is Scottish.
we probably have family there too. But it's the weather in Ireland. It's that gloomy, rainy, cooler weather that I know I would thrive.
Yeah.
And even in Scotland, it's a lot of gloomy, a lot of spooky
Rainy,
towns, and just that aesthetic in Scotland is very that old school academia. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that
the
vibe.
city.
Yeah, it's everything.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And then, so our dad's side is from Estonia.
The Baltic.
Yep. An island in Estonia called Saaremaa. And we visited there, and it's really nice. Castles again.
I know.
It's a thing. It's great.
I know. I was literally talking to Luke about this yesterday, and I was like, you'd honestly love to visit our family that lives on that island because they're literally farmers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, straw roofs on their houses.
I know.
They catch all their meals, the fish, everything. The fish, I think we have some family watching, and we're so grateful for our time there. But the way they cook their fish is they give it to you on a plate with the eyes and skin and everything still on it, and you actually have to deconstruct it.
Yep.
But that's just normal. That's the way things are done.
Well, yeah, even just going to Tallinn, it's you're transformed into that
transported into medieval times.
Transformed. Yeah, you're transported into medieval times.
Yeah.
Everyone that works there, they're all dressed up. They have the cute little bands that play the fiddle and whatever instruments. I don't even know what their names are. And then they have these I guess pubs that serve pig ears and liver and blood sausage.
Blood sausage is definitely a delicacy from Estonia.
Luca would thrive there. He would love it. It's you're eating like a Viking over there.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our background. I can't believe we didn't bring that up last time because that's important.
Yeah.
But had to mention it because of the wedding. Aside from that, Mandii has some updates. You just had, it was a diabetic test or something for pregnancy.
My gosh.
I have heard so many people freak out about that. I've seen so many TikToks of people crying, drinking the fluid you're supposed to have before. So how was that?
Honestly, I feel the stuff you had to drink for the colonoscopy almost prepped me for this.
Okay.
Because the fact that I drank a whole jug of that stuff for the colonoscopy. To be honest, having done that huge jug, the little one was like nothing compared to that.
Yeah.
But it still sucked. And like something that I'm working on with my anxiety is that a lot of like fear and stress and anxiety, it's all psychological.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can like program your brain to like think a certain way in a scary moment, you can get through it smoother. It's a time limit that you have to drink it. So she was like, you have to drink this in 5 minutes. Otherwise, you have to do it over. Like, it's got to be done in 5 minutes so that from that moment of the 5 minutes is up, they start it from an hour, and then you have to sit and wait for an hour. And this is the 1 hour test I did. Some people have the 4 hour test.
Wow.
After the hour is up, then you go and they take the blood work. And while I was drinking it, I was like trying so hard not to throw up. It was first thing in the morning. I fasted. And when you're pregnant and like nauseous, it's like the worst thing ever. But I was like, okay, I could stop right now and focus on how grossed out I am and possibly throw up and risk having to do it again. But I was like, in my head, I was like, imagine you're so thirsty and this is like the juice or the pop that somebody's giving you that they love. It's their favorite pop and you're trying it for the first time. And like I just convinced myself of that and I just downed it. And like Luca was with me and he was like putting the pressure on, which was good because it made me drink it faster.
Cheerleader.
But he was like, you have 2 minutes. And I'm sure I had more than 2 minutes. But he was like, you have 2 minutes. You better drink it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then doing it. But honestly, when it was done, I was so relieved that I had done it. And I was happy that it wasn't the 4 hour test because I wasn't sure going into it. I wasn't sure which one it was going to be.
Well, good on you. You
Thanks.
did it.
Appreciate it.
Do you have any more updates?
No, I'm getting my results tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm diabetic.
I think you're going to be okay.
I think I'll be okay too.
You'd probably have a lot of signs, right? If you were. Or no?
Definitely it comes with symptoms for sure. The only symptom that I'm kind of afraid of is sometimes I get numbness and pins and needles in my hands and feet.
I get that all the time, not pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually been bothering me the past year. I've been getting it a lot. But Ty told me it's probably a nerve issue.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
So it can be a circulation issue, a nerve issue. I don't know.
I don't know, but I have it too. In my feet and in my fingers. Right now I have tingling.
Right now?
I'm tingling right now as we speak.
Oh my gosh, that sucks.
Yeah.
It's not a good feeling.
No. And I have a muscle spasm in my eye, which Mandii and I were just talking about. It's like constantly moving like this. Anyway.
She needs more magnesium in her life.
I think I do. Another update we had to talk about is that, so our parents watched our first episode of the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
We found out afterwards. It's cool that they're supportive. That's great. And Dad called me and he was freaking out because we talked about that like demon dog dream. By the way, Mandii and I had different ideas of what the demon dog photo was.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
So, the dog photo that Jess had shown you in that first episode was not the dog photo that I was referring to. That was actually a real photo. I was dying when I came up and it was like that husky with the dentures. And I was like, that's a real photo.
It's not dentures. It's just a scary husky.
It has human teeth.
Like, and that's why it's scary, because it's a husky.
It's not like sharp teeth. But anyway, like the actual photo is like a real photo of a man at his wedding or at a wedding, and it's behind him, and it looks like a dog, and it has yellow eyes, and it's a true, real photo. We had different ideas.
We definitely did.
When you put the other one, I was like, oh my gosh, people are not going to take me seriously with anything else I say.
I didn't know there was multiple demon dog photos, so that's our bad. We thought of the wrong thing.
Hellhounds.
Yeah. My father called me after he listened to the part about me telling the dream where I saw the creepy demon dog at the end of my bed, whatever. He calls me freaking out because he had the same dream as I did. Like a couple nights before he listened to the podcast, and I had never told him about my dream because it was really recent. And I had the same thing. Saw a demon dog approaching the bed, glowing eyes, freaked out, woke up because of it. I don't think he had sleep paralysis like I did, but how weird that in the same week we had the same demon dog dream. Like, I've never dreamt about stuff like that in my life.
So specific.
It's so weird. But I think, and I mean, you could probably speak to this, our family has like abilities
on our dad's
psychic
side.
What is it, like you're touched by
medium?
I don't know what
psychic medium.
I don't think we're psychic mediums, but I think that we have some sort of like knowledge of things. I don't know
There's
how to
a word,
it.
like, intuitive?
There is a word, and I can't think of it right now, but I know what you mean. Sensitive. Sensitive.
Isn't it intuitive?
I don't know. Intuition?
Yeah.
Is it our great-grandmother used to read tea leaves?
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. It reminds me of Coraline.
Yeah, and Grandma has dreams of things happening before they happen. And sometimes I have dreams like that, too.
Yeah, you have.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird is that before we did a lot of our ghost hunting, you would have a dream, like, right before we went. And it would usually happen whatever you dreamed about.
Well, the creepiest one was when we went to that, like, Airbnb, that big mansion where you could rent specific rooms out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I forgot what it was called. And I had a dream, very, very specific. I remember it was something to do with, like, a dog and, like, a little boy and whatever. Remember?
Yeah.
It was a dog. And I was like, this is so weird, guys. But, like, this was my dream. And then when we went there, the owner, she, like, advertises it as, like, a haunted place. So it's not, like, a secret.
House.
Yeah.
I think.
She advertises it as haunted. So it's not like it's a secret or anything. She was, like, so open with us and, like, talking about it. And we were in the most haunted room. And then I brought it up. So I was like, I had this dream. I don't know if it's anything. And she was like, oh, yeah, there's the dog. And, like, the little boy and whatever. And I was like, a dog, though? Like, that's so specific, right?
Well, yeah, she talked about how she used to go, didn't used to, but was going in the basement a lot. And she heard, like, a dog following her. And it was like,
yeah.
So that's more history about us. And the last thing is that I just watched Talk to Me. And I don't know why, but I wanted to mention it on here. Okay, because you and I, we like horror movies, but we like it when it's like fun, spooky. Yeah, it affects you, but it's like more fun, scary. You know what I mean? You and I both have a line that you can cross where it goes from fun, scary, oh, I can watch these movies all the time, to like it actually bothers and affects us. And one movie on that list is Hereditary. I don't know how you watched it twice, because the first time I watched it, the only time I watched it, I couldn't sleep for a month. I still think about it, and it bothers me.
I wasn't exactly sober the first time I watched it.
Oh.
So it was, like,
you needed a
fun.
Second round.
It was, like, I was with Heather, and we were having, like, a girls' night.
Yeah.
And we were laughing the whole time. We were not paying attention. And, like, we went out after.
I
like,
wish
it wasn't,
that's how it went for me.
The second time I watched it was with Luca, and we watched it seriously, and I ended up having to, like, go for a walk outside afterwards to get, like, fresh air.
Yeah.
I was so upset.
I feel like Talk to Me really creeped that line. I don't think it's quite there with Hereditary, but it gave me the same sort of vibes. You've seen the trailer, I'm sure, and the music that's going all over TikTok, but it's like a hand that people use at parties. It's said to be like a hand of an old, like, medium or something, and her hand was cut off when she died, and they used it. It's an embalmed hand, they say.
Petrified hand.
Something like that. Yeah. And so when you hold on to it and say, talk to me, all of a sudden you see a ghost in the room, and it could be like horribly gruesome, or they died really awfully or something. And then I think you say, I let you in.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go into you, and you're possessed for the rest of the time. And like everyone's laughing, and it's hilarious. Ew. But eventually things go wrong, right? Because depending on what you invite in, which you should never do, period, it could be really evil spirits, right?
How does it get out of them after, though?
You have to let go of the hand. And apparently you have 90 seconds to do that. And you have, like, people there with you, so if you can't let go for some reason, they can rip it from your hand.
Oh, okay.
And then the disconnect happens.
Okay, so you have to do it with people you trust then.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, if you're possessed, how do you let go? If someone else is in control. Most of the time you can't.
They have to actually pull it off of you. But it's like, you're in a room with, like, drunk people and people who are, how do you trust? And why would you ever want to do it? Like, everyone puts their hand up, like, I volunteer. Like, they're all excited. Everyone's, like, videotaping it, and it goes on social media, and people are, like, loving it. And it's like, I would never in a million years even go to a party where that's happening, let alone touch the hand. And then, of course, something goes wrong. I don't want to spoil it, but it gets really disturbing. And then the girl brings the hand home with her, and, of course, that's not going to go well. So, like, it was creepy.
I want to watch it. I'm very curious about it. I was actually just listening to Two Girls, One Ghost, the podcast, and she was just talking about the movie, because she just watched it, and she was saying, like, no spoilers either, because I don't know, but now I'm curious. She was saying that the way that it ended was very unique and, like, different, and, like,
yeah, I liked the
she
ending.
actually compared Talk to Me to similar to It Follows. Is that true? Would you say that?
I wouldn't compare that, no, because It Follows is one of my favorite horror movies.
I know, same. That's why I was like, well, if it's comparable, then maybe I'll watch it.
I'm confused how that's being compared because there's nothing, like nothing's following her ever.
Maybe the uniqueness
it's more
of it?
being haunted and constantly possessed by something. So like there's a point, and it's not really a spoiler because obviously you know this is going to happen, where you think after you've let go of the hand your life's fine, but like she keeps getting possessed by ghosts even when she's not using the hand. So it's like maybe that's like her being followed, but I don't really associate it with.
Maybe she was comparing it to the uniqueness of it. Because It Follows is so different.
And it kind of has like that indie film vibe. I know it's A24.
Yeah.
But this was the first movie that the two directors, I think they're brothers, that they made together. Good on them. I can see why it did well. Would I watch it again? No. Would I watch the second one? I'd watch the second one. But I don't want to go back and watch the first one again.
Really?
No. It's very dark and depressing. Like, you have to be in an okay headspace to even watch it because the subject matter is very dark, like Hereditary. And there's a lot of scenes, visually and gore, that's like Hereditary. And that stuff, I don't want to watch it again. Although, you like Midsommar, and there is head trauma, and I do not like head trauma.
I just look away at those parts. It's like a split second.
But Midsommar, I feel like, is similar to Hereditary.
No.
No, but like the themes.
No.
No.
I love Midsommar.
I know, that's your movie.
It's my favorite horror
fine.
Movie. And Hereditary, I hate. I hate it.
Yeah, me too. Do you know what? This is so weird, and most people are going to be like, why? I would put The Sixth Sense into the category of crossing the line. Not at Hereditary.
Wait, what?
Bruce Willis?
Wait, what?
Okay.
You're putting it on the line of
yes,
watch or not watch?
You know how there's the line we creep over? Yes.
Why?
The Sixth Sense terrified me as a kid.
Have you watched it since?
No.
Maybe you need to. Maybe you need to.
I remember it was the first horror movie we ever watched. We had our close friends over.
It's a beautiful movie. I know what you were scared of. Being a kid, kids should not watch that, okay? It was terrifying. But what we found scary, those ghosts were like the little girl that was throwing up and super sick. That scared us so bad. But
yeah.
But she was sick and she was murdered by her mom. And the truth came out because of him. And it was sad.
I know.
And it wasn't scary.
But it's not just that. It's also that Bruce Willis, and we can't even say spoilers. Like, watch the movie. It's friggin' 30 years old. He doesn't know he's a ghost. And that, I don't know why, but that disturbed me too. That he had no idea the whole movie. And then it replays what happened to him with him being shot. Watching that as a kid, that's a lot to process and take in.
As a kid, for sure. But
that trauma, stuck with me. And I don't know if I watch it again, if I would still be nervous.
Well, it's interesting. That kind of a movie, you watch it and you notice things. Now knowing what the truth is, you notice different things that you wouldn't have noticed. Every time I watch Midsommar, I notice something different.
I can't believe you rewatch that.
Annually. I love it.
You do you. I don't
My girl, Florence Pugh. Can we just take a second to appreciate my girl, Florence? She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
She's a talent, incomparable talent. She is. You know how I feel? I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis when it's everyone needs to shut up, sit down, and let this woman just shine her light. I cannot say one bad thing about her. She's just phenomenal. I don't know if I would have felt the same if it wasn't her doing it.
No, I do love her, though. I love her.
She's
agree,
amazing.
But that doesn't make me love the movie.
Oh, I loved every minute.
I thought it was well done.
Every second of it.
I would never watch it again.
And also, this has to be said about Hereditary, too. Very, very well done.
Yeah.
The acting in it is incredible.
But
the girl who plays the mom in Hereditary, incredible.
Oh, I love her, too.
She's your mother.
She's good in every role that she does. And she's always the same kind of person in the roles. And
she's captivating.
Yeah.
The reason why we hate Hereditary is because it's too good at the subject matter. It's too good. That it's too scary.
Any other updates? Oh, you just had your first wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I feel like it just happened, your wedding.
It's already been a year. It flew by. It just flew by. I don't know. This year has gone by really fast. Time goes by fast when you're having fun, I guess.
Yeah. But you were posting all those photos, and I was like, that was
emotional, right?
It's emotional. But we were also laughing because Ty choked on a fishbone the night before your wedding.
Horrible.
Yeah. But we laugh about it now. But
everyone was so worried.
It's not funny. It's serious.
It's not funny, it's serious, isn't it? There's a couple of things that went wrong with my wedding. My photographer the night before messaged me saying she couldn't come because she had COVID.
Yeah. Oh, you can't say the word.
Oh, my photographer messaged me the night before my wedding saying that she had
COVID
and couldn't make it and was sending complete stranger.
But it turned out great.
You know what? It turned out nice, but the one thing I was telling Mom this today is that I never got individuals with my bridesmaids or you.
I cannot believe you and I.
And there's so much going on that day that you're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
The professional that you hire is the one to think about that. And Luca got so many individual shots with his groomsmen.
I know.
It was 2 photographers. Everything else was beautiful. It's just that I never got any individuals and I'm sad about that. So make sure if you're getting married, make sure you write down for your photographer things for your photographer to follow. Remember to do individuals.
But even so, I didn't get any grandparents' photos at mine, which I am devastated because when they're gone, I will not have any wedding photos with them. And that is something we wrote down and told our photographer. And like, I don't remember when your wedding brain, right? When you're there, you have no idea what's going on. People are directing and you're like, okay, tell me what to do. It's terrifying and you're in a different world.
Yeah.
So we didn't know until after and I was so upset. It is what it is. It's past. Nothing we can do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, so last week I did a lot of my childhood paranormal stories. And we didn't really get into yours. So why don't you take that over and let us know what scared you when you were a kid?
Okay, so there's a lot of things that scared me when I was a kid, but I will just talk about the 2 things that were, like, for sure experiences. Like, for sure.
Yeah.
And the one that will always haunt me, that I will always wonder about, is that time when we went to Nana's house, and I was in the big room, like the green, was it called the green room? I don't remember.
No, that's
Grandma's house?
That's
no.
Grandma.
Okay, so you know how Nana had like the smaller one and then the bigger one? So when you're sleeping in the bed, you're looking at the entrance, like the doorway, and then through the doorway you can see through the hall to the bathroom, and you can see the mirror in the bathroom.
Yep.
It's very specific. I hope that makes sense, guys. I remember at night, and this was like, I had to have been like 6 or 7 years old. Oh, another thing to mention, because now I'm envisioning it, because I remember it like it was yesterday. She also had a dresser with a big mirror, and the mirror also showcased that hallway. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So basically everywhere you look, you could see the hallway.
A mirror in the hallway.
And a mirror, yeah. So I remember waking up and being wide awake and being so scared that I was paralyzed. Like, I probably could have moved. Like, it wasn't sleep paralysis.
Oh, okay.
I probably could have moved, but I was, like, in shock.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because I saw these tall, thin, black shadow people. Like, I guess shadow people. Either shadow people or, like, straight up aliens. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I'm like, was this an alien abduction or visitation? Or was it shadow people?
Yeah.
There were several of them. They were coming into the room from the hallway, from the bathroom, from like the outside of the room, lining up into the room around me. I was wide awake and like every which way I could look, all the angles, the mirrors, I was seeing them in the mirrors and in real life. And just I was so scared and I was so awake when it happened. I've never forgotten about it. And I've never like, there hasn't been a day where I was like, that was a dream, that was sleep paralysis. Like, I've heard of other people having experiences like this, similar to this.
It sounds like aliens.
I know. That's why I'm like, it sounds, some people say like they're like alien visitation, but then also it sounds also the description of it is very much shadow people.
Could be either. But
I've also had like, with the comparison to those like tall, thin, they almost look like Dementors, like, but without the face, it was just shadow, black, tall, skinny.
Okay.
I also had an experience like that in like 2016 in my own bedroom, where they were around my entire bed. I woke up and they were all around my entire bed, but it was after I went to it was like a store with like crystals and spell books and like all kinds of stuff there, like new age stuff.
Yeah.
And I had always gone there before, but there was something about that time that I went where...
You were followed back. It's like me with the graveyard.
Because I was older at this point. It was like 2016. I was lying in the bed, and when I saw them all around my bed, I felt this, like, feeling in my head where it was like, don't go back to that place. This is a bad place.
Yeah.
Never. Like, it was like a warning. Yeah, and it was scary.
Yeah.
But it was like a warning. I don't know.
You just knew there was a vibe.
It's so strange. And then the other one was when I was even younger, and I was in the bedroom. Remember when my bed was like, remember when I had that single bed? And it was like before my bedroom in mom and dad's room was like renovated? Do you remember?
No.
My old bedroom? You don't remember that skinny little single bed that I had?
Like at our old house?
No, like at mom and dad's house now.
I don't remember you having a single bed, no.
Jess.
I don't.
That's crazy.
That was a long time. That was 2004 or 5.
I had the fish tank.
No.
On top of the dresser.
And it faced the other way.
I had the single bed, the computer, and the desk. Gosh. And then I had that dresser with the huge mirror. My bed was right facing it.
Okay, now I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was then. And then I would hear scratching on the carpet next to my bed.
I remember you complaining about that.
Yeah. It would happen all the time. Like, all the time. And I'd be wide awake, and I would be listening to it. And it was like, if you, like, know the sound of, like, carpet and scratching on a carpet. It was right next to me in my bed at night.
Maybe it was me drawing.
No, it was, like, right next to me in my bed. And this happened for years. I remember the one time I was like, it's Chucky. I was like, it's Chucky, the doll.
What made you...
When you're a kid, you just...
Yeah.
Associate something. But, like, I was hearing scratches for sure. Yeah. But I was like, it's Chucky. And I remember, like, I called mom. I was, like, screaming and crying. She was like, what? And I was like, it's Chucky. He's here. He's scratching. Aww. And mom was like, what? And I was like, it's Chucky. And I was crying. And it was... When they renovated my room, I never heard the scratches again. And they renovated it when I was, like, in grade 8.
It's definitely weird. And, like, you and I would hear scratches in the walls as well, or in the ceiling. And we were just talking about this off camera the other day, how we'd hear things like in the attic almost, like little scratches and stuff and like footprints. And we'd tell Dot and he'd be like, oh, like it's definitely mice. Like it's definitely just like rodents. But he would put like mouse traps up there and never catch anything, ever. Like nothing would ever be in the traps. And then one day we heard what felt and sounded like an actual full-grown adult. Like galloping across the whole house.
So fast.
It was like an elephant. And it was fast. And it was like, dun, 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 like Grudge, like
I was going to say it was like the Grudge.
Yeah.
Because if you can envision the way the house is, it's Jess's room, my room, mom and dad's room in like a line. And it's a hallway.
Yeah.
And the attic is right above. So it was like started at Jess's room, ran through mine, and then ran through mom and dad's. I remember they heard it too.
Yeah, everyone was like, what
we
was
were
that?
all up. And we were all like, okay. Because dad would always play it off.
Yeah.
He would always be like, hey guys, like it's nothing.
But that scared him. You could tell.
That was like, Dad.
Yeah.
Come on.
He was like, well, that wasn't a mouse. Like, yeah. It was a human. Go see who's in our house. He was like, it was probably a raccoon. I was like, oh no. No.
Raccoons have
are
tiny
nimble.
Raccoons have tiny little hands.
They don't gallop across the floor.
No, it was heavy.
As if someone was crawling and their knees were going like it was so weird.
I hate just picturing it. I hate thinking about it.
Yeah.
Something that I do appreciate about living in a what's it called? What's my house type?
I don't know, man.
What's it called?
I don't know what it's called. I know what your house is.
It's a back split?
Something like that, where you don't have an attic over one side.
No. It doesn't have, like, an upstairs. Like, my upstairs is, like, 4 steps. Unless you're in the basement, there's no, like, big floor above me.
Yeah.
Because I remember at mom and dad's house, all the time, I would always hear walking upstairs. When we were in the middle floor and nobody was home, or we were all in the mid-floor. And it wasn't like cracks here and there. That happens.
It's like footsteps.
It was like full on walking where I thought it was mom.
Yeah, we'd like stop what we were doing and be like,
that happened a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that I don't have a huge floor above me to hear like walking and stuff and be sketched out. Like when I lived in the basement apartment, if you guys weren't home, I'd always hear walking. But that house was creepy too.
It was.
That house was super haunted. We should talk about that in another episode because, guys, like, there was a lot going on in that house.
There was.
That's a whole other topic because there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my childhood true experiences, because otherwise I was always creeped out by things. I'd always see shadow people here and there.
Well, remember when I saw the tooth fairy?
Oh my gosh. Jess.
Listen, okay, let me tell you how it happened, because
scared me so bad.
I was in Nana's bedroom. I was sleeping soundly. I had just lost my tooth. I was so excited to see the tooth fairy. And literally, I woke up from the light from the tooth fairy. And maybe it was sleep paralysis or something, whatever. But I opened my eyes because you know how, like, you could tell when the light turns on?
Yeah.
I, like, could see the light before I opened my eyes. And I saw, like, this globe of bright just go across the room. And I was like, it's the tooth fairy! And then I told you. Up. Yeah, I woke you up, I told you, and you were terrified.
Because the way Jess would communicate to me when we were kids was in a very morbid, creepy, disturbing way.
What do you mean?
She, like, woke me up and she was like, Mandii, the tooth fairy's here. And it wasn't like, Mandii, the tooth fairy's here. It's your tone. It's your tone.
Oh, I apologize.
Like, the tooth fairy's here. Of course I'm gonna be like,
well, I was kind of shocked. I was shocked, Mandii.
It wasn't like a cutesy positive thing. It was like,
there's no casual way to say the tooth fairy's in our room right now.
And I was like, Jess, please stop. I probably told you to shut up.
I think you told on me too. Like, Nana, she's scaring me. The tooth fairy's here.
It's the way you said it and the way you told me. That was just creepy. Listen, I was creeped out by Santa when I was a kid about the fact that he was coming into our house, and I was very confused about it. I remember.
Yeah, the whole idea of that is very scary.
But it wasn't just that, because I was like, Dad, I remember asking Dad, like, how does this work? Because if I catch him in the act or if I hear him, like, what happens?
Does he leave?
Dad was like, well, no, like, you won't, because when he comes, time stops. He said that, time stops. And and then when he said that, I was even more scared, because I was like, well, how do we breathe? Like, how are we breathing? We're human beings. How does time stop? How do we continue to breathe? What if we suffocate? Because time has stopped and we stopped breathing. And Dad was like, no, it's fine. Like, he does it really fast. He, like, zooms around and does it. And I was so stressed about the time stopping thing and us not breathing at night. That's what I was thinking about.
I was scared of the Easter Bunny. Thinking about a huge rabbit running through our hallway. I was scared of him. Forget Santa.
Yeah.
I was scared of this big rodent in our house walking around dropping, like, candy everywhere. You know what? For a Christmas episode, Dad and Mom, they still have our old letters we used to write to Santa and
way.
To the reindeers. Remember how we'd give them questions and stuff?
They kept it?
Yeah, so we should read what we wrote. Dad has, like, a folder in his office of all of our old stuff. I don't know if he got rid of it now, but he used to have them.
Oh, no. I'm so scared to read them. I'm going to be like, I want this and this and this and this.
No, but we'd ask, like, really intelligent questions about how the reindeers fly and, like, all these things. Like, we were, like, onto them.
I'd be very curious to read them.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. Because we're not even at Halloween yet, so we gotta wait for Christmas.
Right. Correct.
Okay. So we wanted to do sort of a history of jobs we worked at growing up, because we have had some, not that they're strange jobs, but just strange things happen with our employers and jobs we worked at. So I think we should go one by one and do, like, each of our first jobs and just go up the list.
Sure.
So do you want to start?
Yep.
What was your first job?
So I worked at a farm. It's very, very, very popular. I worked Pumpkin Fest. And so it's like Halloween time, everyone goes there.
Yeah.
They only hired kids, which I thought was a little strange. It was all kids.
You pay them less.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, they paid us as little as humanly possible at the time. I mean, I'm pretty sure minimum wage at that time was like $9 or $10.
I made $7 at my first job.
Yeah.
An hour.
Isn't that crazy?
Which shock people now.
So not worth it, because the stuff that we were doing was horrible.
Yeah.
We were doing, like, labor. But anyway, I remember the worst part about it was I got tonsillitis. I had to take, like, a week off or whatever. And when I went back to work, I still, like, couldn't really speak. It, like, hurt to speak. I was doing, like, whatever, picking up garbage or whatever, doing a job like that. And I was working at the front where people were walking in.
Yeah.
And then one of, like, the owners came up to me and yelled at me in front of everyone and was like, if you don't start talking to people and welcoming people, you're going to be fired. And I was like, I have tonsillitis right now.
Yeah.
I cannot speak. She did not care. Like, they were horrible.
Wow.
They were horrible.
So, did you quit or were you fired?
I quit after Pumpkin Fest.
Okay. You were like, I'm done. I'm not
I was
back
done.
here. That place smelled really, really good, though.
Oh, I still go. I still go and I get...
Do you recognize any of your previous
No,
employers? No,
I still go and I get, they have pumpkin donuts, like sugar donuts.
Okay. So you just go for that.
Yeah, and I go for the pictures because they have, like, the pumpkins all lined up at the front and it's very aesthetic and...
Yeah.
They're definitely good at what they do. We had to wear these, like, huge foam cowboy hats. So embarrassing. Like, jumbo.
Yeah.
Neon-colored cowboy hats.
Sounds fun.
Humiliating.
Fashionable.
They don't make them do that anymore, I noticed. But they made us do that.
They probably got so many complaints.
It's so
do
humiliating.
we have to wear this?
So humiliating.
Yeah.
That was my first job.
Okay, well, mine, and you and I both kind of went the same route with this. My first job was as a lifeguard and assistant swimming instructor. So I made full lifeguard. I did not make a full instructor, but they still gave me my own classes, probably illegal, but I still had my own classes.
What?
Yeah, super weird. I just did not finish the very last course. And anyone who's done like lifeguard or instructor courses, it is brutal. It goes on for years. You have to go through so many different steps to become a full lifeguard and instructor. It's not fun. It really isn't.
And you have to assist for a while before you can become...
You do.
To put in your hours as an assistant.
Maybe it was that I didn't finish off my hours or something as an assistant. I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. I got sick. But I had this issue, and I'm going to say I was fired from this job because I'm pretty sure I was. Back then it was very blurry because of all my health issues going on. But I had an issue as a lifeguard where they would always put me up on the top of a slide. And back then I had a lot of anxiety issues. I was afraid of heights. I was afraid of confined spaces. And when you go up on the top of that slide, you have like this much room to walk around. You're at the very top. It's hot, okay? They make those rooms so hot because the water's so cold. So I'm up there like trying to breathe. I don't like being up high. And I was up there with just a phone on the wall because you can call down to like the main area. I would last maybe 30 minutes up there before I had to call my boss and cry. I would be like, I can't stay up here any longer. I'm so scared. I'm going to pass out. I'm going to faint. And like, so they would have to like switch me with somebody. And I would have to awkwardly go down the stairs and like go do something else. I did it so many times that I had to be, what's the word, reprimanded? Mm-hmm. It's when they called me into a room and they gave me like a sheet that I had to sign, and she was basically like, if you do this again, like you're gone. And I had to be like, I have major anxiety. Could you give me things that are like on the floor?
Yeah, I never did the slide job.
Why did they always give me the slide job?
I never did the slide job.
Every time I went in, slide. And I'd be like, do you not remember last time when I almost passed out? But they did it every time.
Maybe it's because they didn't want you to teach the kids.
But I was there as a lifeguard. I wasn't there as an instructor. Like, it would always depend on the day, right? It was my lifeguarding days that they would put me up on the slide. It's probably because no one else wanted to do it.
I don't know.
But it's really the easiest job because if anything goes wrong down there, there's a lifeguard at the bottom to handle it. All you have to do is be like, next. You know what I mean?
There was so much drama at that place.
Yeah.
Because when you left, I became the swimming instructor and everything, and I was there for a while.
Yeah.
So much drama.
There's so many stories.
People were dating.
I know.
Within, and like, even I went on a date with one of the guys. There was so much drama, and the drama would come to life at work. I remember that, like, one guy, you know what I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
He would, like, scream and yell and have meltdowns and slam the lockers and, like...
There's always that one person at a job who's like that.
And then the manager, though, was, like, the same age as all of us.
Yeah.
And, like, oh, it's okay, calm down. Like, trying to, like... But, like, really? Somebody should have been like, don't act like this at the workplace. Get out. This is a
why isn't he reprimanded?
Yeah, no, it was so poorly handled. The management... And it was very, like, unprofessional within that environment. Obviously, when you're with the kids and everything's normal and it's fine. But, like, in, like, the little, like, places that you would go for, like, the staff only, it was filled with drama. It was so bad.
And that was a tiny room.
Tiny little room.
You could barely fit 3 people in there.
Yeah.
No, I did not like that job at all. But then, when I was 17, my lung collapsed. And I'm pretty sure it was because of all the lifeguard training I was doing, because there was this one day, I'll have to try and make this really quick because it's a long story, where we were doing training where you had to lift full, like, grown adults out of the pool while you're standing on the edge. You had to pull them back. Well, we did it so many times, and my back was, like, cracking, and it was really hurting, like, my chest and stuff. And I went home, and I remember just feeling like everything hurt, like, when I moved or breathed. And then soon after, I was struggling to breathe. I was voicing it to everybody, and no one believed me because I was very anxious back then. I was a hypochondriac, so when I told my parents or doctors, they'd be like, "You're fine. It's probably pulled muscles." And I'd be like, "I can't breathe." And I remember the exact feeling of what it's like when your lung collapses. When you breathe, because your lung is literally collapsed, so it's not inflating, right? So when you try and inhale, it's like a balloon that goes, and you can feel and hear in your ears what it's doing, and it's like it's doing, so one's working kind of, right, on one side, but the other one is not expanding, so it's like a rubbery, flappy, it's so weird to explain. And, like, if I was sitting in a car or on the school bus and there would be any, like, bumps, the lung would, because it's so floppy, would just go, like, and I'd feel like, this is not normal, like, this is not, like, just like your muscles. So finally, and it was literally like 2 weeks of me having a collapsed lung. Like, I cannot believe I didn't die. Because if you go online and you look it up, and even doctors told me, like my surgeons, like, I'm so glad you're alive, because people don't just survive with a collapsed lung for a long time. Like, you have to fix that soon. Anyway, I finally got my x-ray done. They saw it at like midnight, and it was when we came back from one of our family members had,
it was a voicemail,
passed away. Yeah, and it was a doctor who had tried, it was back when we didn't really have cell phones everywhere, so they had to call our home phone, and we weren't home. And it was a doctor being like, "Get to the hospital right away, you have to get her." Like, he was freaking out. Like, it was midnight, he called. Yeah. So we got home, had to go to the hospital. They had to do, they had to reinflate my lung, and they had to do a quick surgery where they put like a tube in your lung, and supposedly it gets the air out of your chest wall and reinflates it.
I remember this.
So I had that, and he's like, "Oh, like 90% of the time it works, like, you're gonna be fine, go home." So I went home with a tube sticking out of my lung. It was disgusting.
I remember.
3 days later, my lungs still hadn't expanded, so I had to do another surgery where they had to, like, cut part of my lung and then reattach it to the chest wall, and that was a lot of incisions. And honestly, it's a story time for another day because there's so much with that. But I think it did stem from my lifeguarding stuff. I really do. Because how does that just happen? Usually, like, it's from, like, blunt force trauma, an accident. People in car accidents get collapsed lungs. Something happened to me that was so extreme that occurred. So it's really bizarre.
You were also, like, borderline anorexic when it happened,
right?
Yeah,
I was like 85 pounds.
So I feel like that had something to do with it as well. Like, you just weren't a very healthy person.
It's called spontaneous pneumothorax, and like they say if you're really tall and thin, I'm not that tall, but that's usually who it happens to. So that was really scary. And now I definitely have PTSD from it because, like, I'm always scared of not breathing or choking or it happening again.
Yeah.
And they told me I have a 50% chance of my other lung collapsing because they think it's like the size of my lungs that were rubbing against my chest wall. And so obviously my left lung is still that size. So they worry that it could happen again. Nothing has happened again, but obviously it's like a ticking clock in my mind sometimes. I'm like, is it going to happen? I can't go scuba diving ever because the pressure. I can't go up a mountain.
Right.
There's like things I can't do.
Right.
So
anyway, scary.
That took a dark turn. But yeah, that was...
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah. And that happened right after I got my reprimand. So they were definitely going to fire me anyway. It's fine. I didn't go back, obviously. Your turn.
Well, I mean, I was a swimming instructor as well. I don't really have any stories to tell there except for, like, all that drama, and also the water was freezing and I hated the draw up there because I was freezing cold. I was literally like so cold the whole time, and like I just did not feel good. After years of doing it, I did it all throughout high school. After years of doing it, I just felt so ugly because I was wet all the time. My hair was wet. I was such a, like, ghostly pale person, no makeup. Your hair's never done. It's soaking wet. It's sopping. I always felt the ugliest version of myself. Like, I know that's I mean, it sucks to say, and I would hate to hear anyone else say that about themselves, but it's the truth.
As a teenager, though, I mean,
I felt so insecure.
Yeah.
You know, like, skin issues. We had back knee.
Yeah.
And, like, going to work in a bathing suit, sopping wet with no makeup, no hair done, like, I didn't feel my best, and I really hated it. And I was happy to leave.
Me too. Good riddance, that's over.
After that, I worked as a receptionist at a college, a hair college, the college that I actually ended up going to after, but I did like a co-op there in grade 12, and then I got the job there. It was actually haunted.
Yeah, you told me that.
It was haunted. I would close there, and it was very scary, I remember. Besides the, like, heaviness of a place being haunted and feeling like somebody's behind you and you turn and there's nobody there, you know, stuff like that, I always thought that I saw a man's, like, figure of a man or whatever, like, in the corner of my eye.
Did he have a top hat?
I'd look. No.
Okay, because that's a certain man.
No.
Okay.
I thought it was, like, a customer. I thought it was a man every time, and I'd look, and he wouldn't be there. And the one of, like, the owners, she would come in sometimes, because she would, like, go to all of, like, the locations or whatever. She'd come in sometimes, and, like, one time, I don't know how it got brought up, but we were, like, eating lunch or something, and she was talking about how this place is haunted. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I've literally been seeing a man at night when it's, like, empty.
Oh, that's so gross.
And she's like, oh yeah, like, I see him too. And then in the cameras, because there's cameras in the back where all the storage is and whatever, there's, every time you would look, there's ghost orbs all the time, all throughout the camera. The only scary thing that ever really happened was at the college. So there was, like, the front desk, and then behind me was the color bar, and then we'd have towels that were rolled up and put neatly under the countertop.
Yeah.
And so that was a part of my job, as well as to do the laundry and to fold and put the towels, like, neatly under the counter. And I remember I had just done it, finished it, turned around, helped somebody, turned back around. It would have been literally not even a minute. I turned back around, and all of the towels were pulled out from underneath the counter and placed in a pattern.
Ew.
Yeah. So it wasn't like somebody, like, messed it up really quick or whatever. It was, like, strategically placed in a pattern, and that countertop was very long, because think about it, it's like the college. It's like where everybody learns and works and uses color. It was a long, stretched out countertop with all the towels underneath, and they were all pulled out within seconds, like under a minute. It was like a jump scare without any noise. Like, it was a jump scare. I, like, leaped terrifying. Back, and I was like, what? And then also, like, dealing with customers, like, that sucked. Like, a girl called me stupid once.
That's awful.
And just another girl accused me of stealing her $20 tip, because I would cash everybody out because I was the receptionist, and one of the stylists there accused me of stealing $20, and she reported me and everything. But when I finished the till for the day, there was an extra $20.
Yeah.
So it would have been just a mistake, or I didn't notice it, or forgot to give it to her or whatever, but there was an extra $20 in the till, and I just made a note that it belonged to her and to give it to her the next day. But she had, like, filed a report and everything against me that I had stolen it. And, like, she never even asked me or confronted me. She never even came up to me and was like, oh, like, apparently I was given a $20 bill. Like, do you know anything about it?
She just never assumed that you were stealing.
To clarify, I feel like I didn't say this correctly. I didn't even know that there was a tip to be given, but I knew that there was an extra $20 at the end of the day.
You assumed that was hers after her
issue. I was pulled into the office, and they were like, where's the $20? And I was like, I was never given $20. And then I did the till at the end, and I was like, oh, that's it. You know?
Yeah.
It was an easy mistake.
To assume. That sucks. I hate that.
It's like, if you have a problem with somebody at work or whatever, if it's
Talk to them.
Just confront them first.
Yeah. Not even confront, but, like,
ask them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird. It was weird not to hear from her first. I was, like, called into the office, and it was, like, and I was like, I have no idea.
It's weird. I have a similar story that I was going to tell you. So then I got a job at Michael's craft store, which is an interesting thing, because I had my lung surgery. I was ready to go to college soon. And our grandmother, her neighbor, was, like, high up in Michael's somehow. And she knew I liked crafts. And so, like, grandma went to her and was like, hey, like, do you think you could hire my granddaughter? And, like, they did. I didn't even have, like, an interview or anything. They were like, oh, cool.
I didn't know you didn't have an interview.
Well, I went and like met the manager, but I had already been like past the screening process. Okay. You know what I mean? So anyway, I got a job there, and I worked there for 3 years, and it's definitely tough being a cashier. Like, now that I've been one, whenever you go to a store, they're struggling, okay? Like, just be patient with them, because I have so many stories of people who were so rude to me and like were so angry with my pace, and like, you know, and a lot of the time, like, things break down and we can't figure out how the machine works because it's being glitchy, and like people will huff and puff and will swear under their breath and will roll their eyes and ask for the manager, and like, we're just trying to do our best. You know what I mean? So like, I really have sympathy for people who are in those positions, because people are tough. Even you being like doing people's hair and things, like dealing with people.
Any customer service job.
Yeah. Even when you worked at the restaurant, like, it's tough. People are difficult. Anyways, though, I think it was my year 2 that I was there. Someone was stealing money from the register. And it was hard to know who it was, because we had throughout the day probably 5 or 6 people who worked the same cash. And I was always there, like, I don't know, mid-afternoon or something. Obviously, it was not me. I was doing my job fine. But my manager called me in at the end of one day and sat me down in the office. And he was like, "Where is the money?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Well, you know, whenever we check the money at the end of the day, we're always, you know, out like $50 to $100.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it wasn't even a small amount. Someone was taking bills and bills and bills, right? It was crazy. And I was like, "Well, like, it's not me. Like, don't you have cameras?" "Yeah, but we don't have time to look through like the entire like they literally had cameras right behind us where the cash was all day long, like playing, unless they were fake." But I was like, "Can't you just look through the cameras? We don't have time and staff to do that." I'm like, "Well, you can't just bring people in here then and accuse them. Like, you need to do a proper investigation before sitting me down and saying, like, where's the money? Why are you taking money?" Like, it wasn't even a question of, like, did you do it? It was like, why is this happening? And I was like, it's not me. Like, monitor me, look through the cameras, it's not me. So I had a very similar situation to that. And do you know what's funny? It was the manager who was stealing the money. They were arrested and let go.
Plot twist.
Yeah. It was crazy because I had 2 managers grilling me. The one that was quiet was the one who was taking the money. And I actually liked him. He was like a really funny guy. Like, he was always really nice. Like, the cash was right beside the doors, and in the winter, like, all the air would come in when people would, and he would bring me his jacket and like put it on my shoulders. Don't know if that's weird or not. What? At that point, I was like 20.
He liked you.
He was, yeah, but he was an older man. Like, he was probably
that doesn't
in
mean
his
he
late
doesn't
50s.
like you.
I don't know. But he always seemed really nice. He was the one taking the money. And he sat there while she grilled me, knowing damn well he was the one who was doing it.
That's dirty.
I remember one day he didn't come into work, and, you know, all the people gossiped there. And they were like, yeah, he was the one stealing the money. And I was like, oh, damn. But, like, it was such a weird place to work. Like, one time they brought me in, and it was my 3rd year, okay? I was working there 3 years, and I was being paid, I think, $8.20 an hour, which is crazy. And they took me in, and they were like, "You know what? We're going to give you a raise. You're doing a great job." They increased it by 15 cents. You might as well not. You know what I mean? Why bring me in here to give a 15-cent raise?
A lot of raises are like that, though. It's so
That's
terrible.
insane to me. At least do $1. Otherwise, like, what's the point?
No, I know, but like, I hear it all the time. Of it's like cents. I've heard that often.
I don't know. That sucks.
It really does suck.
But anyways, lots of stories from Michael's. I'm sure as the podcast goes on, I'll think of some. And, you know, there's like Christmas things. Like, during the busy season, there's so much stuff.
Chaos.
Oh my gosh, I had a Christmas tree fall on me. Yeah. Because I was working the floor, and this big man, he was like 6'5". He's like, "I would like the Christmas tree." And like, they have them stacked up on these huge risers.
Yeah.
So I take him to the Christmas tree, and he looks at me like, "You gonna get it?" So I had to get on one of those like step stools, and he's way bigger than me and strong. He has like a shirt on that's showing his muscles. And I'm over here like trying to get the tree down, and it literally falls and collapses on me. I went home and cried because I was like, this is so embarrassing.
Oh my gosh, Mom.
You just called me Mom.
I did. I was gonna say, Jess, thank God you do what you do now.
Yeah.
Because you in the workplace.
I cried all the time. I am such a sensitive person, but so are you.
At every job, you were a mess.
I was a mess. At every job.
Thank God you do this now.
I know.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Some people just aren't cut out for, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the same way because I own my own business now and I work for myself, and thank God.
Yeah.
Because the older I got, the more angry I got, and the more aggressive I became with my bosses, because the beauty industry, man, it's toxic place. But my next job after the receptionist was a waitress and hostess and busser at Moxie's.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like 2014 to 2015, I guess. The only thing I have to say about that place was that at the time, I don't think they do this anymore, because I don't think you can get away with it, but they used to only hire like good-looking girls. And
I bet they still do that.
No, but they used to make you had to wear skirts.
Yeah.
And you had to wear heels. And I remember, oh my gosh, I only worked part-time and in the evenings. But I remember, like, the pain I'd be in, because you're standing and you're walking around the whole time.
Yeah.
It's just so uncomfortable and painful. Because also, I would be working at Marca, standing and doing hair, and then I'd go to this job and put on heels and stand and walk around. And then the other thing is, like, the guys that would go there that were regulars at the bar, in the lounge area, they were very touchy-feely, inappropriate with the girls, including myself, and very, like, objectifying us. One time a guy, like, grabbed a hold of my waist and, like, pulled me into him, and
Ew.
some of the girls there, like, they liked the attention. Like, some of the girls there would be like, oh, like, get to know that guy because he like, buys girls, like, jewelry, and he was like a gross old man who was there every night drinking and like talking to the girls. And like, I remember the time that the guy did pull me in and hold me to his waist and was talking way too close to my face, and I was so uncomfortable. And guys, like, I was like 17. I remember I confronted my manager and I complained because I was so upset when that happened. I remember, like, him telling me, like, just make them happy. Like, that's what he said.
That is so messed up.
He was like, just make them happy. And I remember crying, and I remember calling, like, mom and dad and, like, just crying about it, and knowing, like, because you have to stay there till, like, 2, 3 a.m. when everybody's gone and you have to clean and leave. And I was so scared to, like, leave and be there at night. And, like, I didn't want to stay there that long. And, like, ugh, I hated it. Hated it. Not for me. I'm sure a lot of women understand working in, like, the restaurant industry that they do that. But I also have noticed a difference, too. Restaurants like that I go to now, I always see them wearing flats and running shoes and comfy shoes and stuff. I think they have.
That's good if they did.
I don't think you can force people to wear heels.
You can't change the way the customers are going to behave, though. So I'm sure it happens all the time.
The customer thing, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Which is so disturbing. So I was doing art and craft birthday parties for a while. Just on my own. It was like freelance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was okay. I did it for like a year. And I actually got, I don't know how I advertised it, but I got a lot of birthday parties. Mom. I did it constantly. No, I think I put it on like Kijiji and like, you know, different like just random websites, and people just found me. I think like Craigslist, like really kind of sketchy. And people would just like hire me. And like I'd go to, if they had like a hall they rented out or it was in their house, like I would just like go prepare all the canvases and paints and would do it. And would have to like teach art to these kids, which is crazy because I'm a really shy person, and I did it. And it was really good money because moms are willing to like pay to have a good birthday party for their kids. You know what I mean? And like a lot of the time, like it was like these popular kids who had like 26 friends, and they would all go, and like you're paying per child, right? And then you pay like a thing on top of it for supplies. So I was making good money, but it was exhausting. So I stopped after a year. I was like, I cannot, like, I'm not cut out for teaching, you know? There wasn't much to say to that one, just that I did it.
I have a few. So after this, I worked at a very well-known, large chain salon. I went there and I did my apprenticeship. And then I also later on, for a very, very short amount of time, when I got my license, I like was an active stylist there. Very, very, very toxic workplace. Everybody there was competitive. They weren't happy at your success. Like, your failure was their success, and your success was their failure, was the mindset. I didn't like that at all. And I mean, I remember this one woman, and I actually confronted her, like, in recent years, just so you know. I don't know if I told you this, but this one girl, she was supposed to be sort of in charge of, like, the new talent, because they had to, like, train us their special way for the salon. And she would, like, bully me, straight up bully me. Like, she would, you know, come up to me, talk badly about my clothes. I remember she would say, because it was in a mall, the one that I worked at was in a mall, and she would say, like, you need to go out into the mall right now and buy a new outfit. What? And she would do it in front of people, like, just outwardly. And I used to say, like, well, you're not the manager, so you can't really tell me to do that.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, well, I'm going to go tell the manager right now then that what you're wearing is whatever. And then there was another time where she told me that I was so pale that I looked sickly and that I need to wear more makeup. And I was like, okay, that sucked.
Wow.
And then there was another time when I did a client, and she, being like the one that was in charge of like the new talent or whatever, she would like come and check our work and stuff and like give the okay or whatever. So there's this one cut that I did that I was really proud of, and she like came over, checked it out. Maybe she made like a couple snips here and there, because that's what they do. She was like, okay, fine, it's done. And I remember being proud of it, and I took pictures of it, and I posted them, and then I tagged the salon, and getting onto the salon page was like a big deal.
Yeah.
So when they reposted my work, I was so excited and so like proud of myself, and like, oh my gosh, I'm on the official page. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
A couple of days later, I checked it again to like show mom or something, and they had taken away my name and put her name. Yeah. And I remember, like, this is the last straw. Like, I'm done. Like, this sucks. I'm reporting this. Like, this, like, she's taking credit of for my work. And she cannot be doing that.
Yeah.
I think I wrote an email or a letter or something, because mom was always like, put everything in writing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I put it in writing, and I sent it to the manager. And then when I went in the next day, I walked in. Everyone was really weird. And, like, I go into the back, everyone's looking at me, everyone's whispering, whatever. A couple of people started coming up to me, and they were like, is it true that you complained about so-and-so? And I was like, how do you know? Yeah. So I later found out that the manager was good friends with this woman and had brought her into the office and read her the email that I sent. And then she proceeded to go out and tell every single stylist in the salon what I had done and what I had said. So then,
unprofessional.
I was just like mortified, and then I ended up becoming like this thing where I was like crying before work, having anxiety attacks. There was a time when I would get clients to come and they couldn't find their way through the mall to get to the place, and I would text them the location, and I was sent home once for being on my phone and texting the location. And I remember being like, look at my phone, read the text, look at the timestamp. They did not care. And I remember bawling because I'm like, my client is here, ready for me to do her hair, and you're sending me home. I'm humiliated. But before that, I was crying, and my manager was like, oh, why are you crying? And I was like, I'm humiliated. I have to go out there and tell my client to leave because you're kicking me out. And she was like, oh, I thought you were crying because you were remorseful. Yeah. It was so bad. And then also, I've come to realize as well that there was a lot of essay going on.
Oh.
No. SH. There's a lot of SH going on in the salon with like the male stylists.
Okay.
And little comments here and there. And I actually found out that the owner, he was actually like bringing people, like women, into the offices. And he was actually exposing himself in front of them. Yeah, and asking them for favors, if you know what I mean.
I think that is essay.
But not touching them, though, so I don't know.
So
I don't know if it's essay. I don't know if it's essay or SH. It's that gray area in between. Yeah. But he's had a lot of complaints against him, a lot of like law stuff where he's had to go to court. And I had a stylist that just recently came to me to get her hair done. She was always nice to me, but she had been there for like 30 years since they've opened. She's like an older woman. Yeah. And she said, like, he had done that recently, and then him and his team ended up sending her an NDA to sign, and that they were going to offer her, like, thousands of dollars to be quiet. Oh my goodness. Like, because apparently this is a thing he does, like often.
And they're just accepting it, trying to work around it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, like, here's money to be quiet.
Let him be.
It literally reminds me of, like, the Nickelodeon situations where, like, the child actors...
They're speaking up.
All of them were offered, like, money and stuff. Yeah. I, like, fell down a rabbit hole recently. But it's just so icky and gross because you just don't know, like, who accepted that money and stayed quiet. But she didn't. She didn't accept the money. She's, like, fully going to court over it and stuff. Disgusting. Disgusting. After that, I quit. And then I went to another place that was actually really great. It's a salon. But they ended up letting me go because I was covering for a girl that was on mat leave. But what sucked about it was that when they hired me, they didn't tell me that I was expected to leave when she came back. Mm. So I was heartbroken when I had to leave. And then the last place that I worked at before I became my own business owner was a salon where, once again, toxic work environment. My boss ended up, he was really sketchy and shady and weird. He would, like, secretly, like, pull aside everyone individually and tell them, like, oh, if you play your cards right, I might give you the salon one day if you're really good at your job and everything. Wow. So he had a couple women working for him there for a while, but, like, new stylists and, like, new assistants, he'd only hire straight from college. Young girls, easily manipulated.
Ew.
You know, you don't have to pay them much.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He would always, like, whenever he'd give me my paycheck, he'd be like, take this straight to the back. Don't talk to anybody. Don't stop to talk to anybody. Don't show anybody. Take this straight to the back and put it in your bag. So he was, like, paying us all differently.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
That is really weird.
But then at one point, he started taking all of our tips from us.
For himself?
Yeah. I mean, I guess he was taking our tips, and as a hairstylist, tips are like, that's like 50% of your income right there is tips. We rely on our tips a lot. Yeah, he started taking our tips from us, and it got to a point where I was like, okay, we got to confront him as a team, because everyone would complain and, like, bitch behind his back and in the back and, like, keeping it quiet. But I was like, listen, guys, he does not have a salon without us. And it was only women working there, by the way. He was the only guy. Another sketchy thing. I was like, if we all stand up to him and ask for our tips back, he has got no salon without us.
Right.
So let's do it. None of them did it. None of them. It
needs to be a team game.
So, like, I stood up to him. And I had a yelling match in the middle of the salon with him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I ended up quitting because I remember I went home and I, like, told mom and dad. And I was like, this is insane. Like, when is this going to stop? When am I going to find a salon that is healthy work environment where I can, like, do what I love and be good? And mom was literally, at that point, she was like, quit and we're going to just do our own thing. It's going to be a risky thing. It's going to be a risk, but we're going to do it. And thank God she did that.
Look where you are now. I mean,
I know, but that's the thing.
You have, like, so many clients. You do so well. You're your own boss. Like, that's, like, the best way
when to do you decide to, like, be your own boss, even you with YouTube,
it's a risk.
When you decide to, like, do your own thing and be an entrepreneur and start your own business, it is always a risk, always. And you're always gonna, like, either be putting money into it, losing money, or just breaking even the first bit. You know what I mean? Don't expect to be, like, making a lot of money in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a gradual build up. And thank God I did it. I started when I was still living at home with mom and dad. And they, like, helped me out a lot with that. But yeah, like, I'm so blessed. Like, I'm so glad. Best decision I ever made. Yeah. And, like, one day, my goals, I hope to open my own little salon one day and be, like, a commercial space and, like, hire one other stylist and, like, maybe, like, a lash tech or an esthetician and have my own
That'd be so cool,
salon. Maybe. But
that'll happen. For sure.
So yeah, that's my work-life experience.
Yeah.
It's been a tough one.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's been a journey.
Wow.
But you too. Like,
yeah.
Well, it's been a journey.
I had 2 more.
Oh, you did? Oh, I thought you were done.
But it's okay because it was all salon stuff, so it made sense that you just kind of like put
I thought you were done, and that's why I was like,
it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
It kind of all goes together anyway. So I did an internship after college. It was actually in order to graduate graphic design. I had to do an internship for 3 months. And what sucks is that it wasn't a paid gig, which really sucks because when you're finishing college, you need to really amass as much as you can before you can start doing anything in life, right? You need money after college. So I went there, I got my internship. It was a small office in Toronto. The manager, the boss of, the owner of the place was very, what's the word? High-headed. Like, he thought he was so cool. Like, when he gave me the job, he's like, people would fight over this. Like, he was like really like talking it up. And I'm like, okay, like, cool. Like, that's fine. So I start work there and I'm commuting there every day. It's like an hour and a half, more, almost 2-hour commute to get there. So all their parking spaces was for the staff. They wouldn't give me one. So I had to park like 30-minute walk down the road in Toronto. And it was awful. Anyway, so I get there and he's like, you're going to love this, whatever. They would give me the work they didn't want to do. Obviously, like, you're the intern, suck it up and do it, whatever.
That's how it goes.
They gave me a vacuum cleaner instruction manual that I had to create, do it in French and English, and it was the most boring thing, 3 months worth of a vacuum cleaner manual. He told me I'd be doing logos, magazines, photo shoot stuff, all kinds of stuff. I got this friggin' vacuum cleaner manual that I hated to do, and it was so confusing because I had to do arrows to certain part of the vacuums, and I don't know how to vacuum works. They'd be like this crazy like long term, and I had to point to what part of the vacuum it was.
Very technical.
I'm sorry, I know that. All of a sudden I had to have like a degree in a vacuum knowledge. Like, it was crazy. Anyway, on my lunch periods, I was also trying to freelance work. So on my lunch, instead of eating, I would take the hour to do my own projects for people. I didn't think that was wrong. I was like, well, I'm not working right now. I'm off time. I'm not getting paid anyway. So in my hour, I'm going to do something that I'm actually getting paid for. Because I was there all week. I had no time to do my freelance at home. So I'm like, I'll do it on my lunch. I won't eat. It's fine. Whatever. Like, I had granola bars or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He finds out. And this is right before my last day. I'm supposed to go in. He calls me at like 8 p.m. And I see his number pop up. And I don't answer it because I'm like, it's 8 p.m. Why is he calling me? I'll let it go to voicemail and like see what he says. His voicemail was so angry. He's like, I just found a ton of other projects on your computer that you're working on during business hours? He didn't even let me explain. Dude, it was during my lunch, which I thought I had the right to do whatever I wanted on my lunch. Apparently not. And maybe I'm in the wrong. I don't know. But he was screaming at me. Do you think I'm in the wrong?
No!
Okay. He was so mad that I did not come in for my last day. I cannot believe he actually signed off on my forms. And thank God he did. Because I graduated. Because he put his signature. But he was so mad, Mandii, and he was demanding, he's like, call me back as soon as you get this, call me. I didn't call him back. I literally sent him like an email that was like, can you sign my papers, please? And he did it.
Thank God.
But like, I never called him back to confront him because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. I thought I was doing the right thing. I was working every other hour I was supposed to. But this guy was so high-headed. Like, literally, one day he came to me and he's like, today you're not going to work in the office. We're going to go on a field trip. And this is the most exciting thing you'll ever do in your career. He takes me to this meeting that he's like doing. It's for plastic bags, Ziploc bags, okay? They're doing packaging for Ziploc bags, like little bags you put your food in. It was so boring, Mandii. Vacuum cleaner, Ziploc bags. Listen, I'm grateful for the experience, yada, yada, yada. I graduated college, it's fine. But like, it was just not a good time.
This is you telling me this story is reminding me because I literally just, like, I'm watching Gilmore Girls, always watching Gilmore Girls. When Rory gets like the internship with Logan's dad, and he was like, this is gonna be like the most amazing like opportunity for you as an intern. Boring. And she goes and she's like miserable.
Yeah. But that's how internships
everyone there's
are.
So mean.
You're the garbage bag, you know what I mean? Like,
you do all the bitch work.
Yeah, it's awful. Anyway, and then before YouTube, I did babysitting, and I was fired from that job after the first time. I think Mom and Dad knew these people from church or something, and
was that the time I went with you?
Oh, so I went twice then. No, it was a time I went by myself.
Remember?
I think the first time you and I went, and we stayed for a couple hours, and it was during the day, and they were coloring and stuff, right?
Watching movies and Then
I had to do one by myself, and it was the Mom and Dad, they were on a date night, and I went there at like 7 p.m., so they had just eaten dinner. All I had to do was watch a movie, put them to bed. That's all I had to do. It was awful. It was this little boy, This is gonna make me sound like an awful aunt, but I'm gonna be a great aunt.
I know you
okay?
are. I know you
and
are.
I was young. I was like 21.
Babysitters are always young.
Anyway, it was this little boy, and I don't know how to do diapers. I don't know how to do anything. No one's ever taught me, right?
Did you not go to babysitting training?
I didn't.
Well, I did.
I did. It was like an online course that I did, which I was allowed to like do that, and that was fine. I didn't do anything in person.
Because you get like a certificate. You're supposed to like be.
I had an online certificate.
Okay. Okay. But I didn't. So you were qualified.
Yeah, of course. But yes, I was qualified.
Well, I don't know.
But I didn't do like any in-person training. I didn't know there was like in-person courses.
Yeah, I did the in-person.
I did not know those were a thing. Anyway, this little boy, he was just trying to get off of diapers and do his potty training.
Aww.
Fine, but like they didn't walk me through anything. Did not know about potty training. The little girl was a toddler, was very excited, could not get them to bed. The parents came home, there was poop all over the place because the kid was not sitting on the toilet, and I tried so hard, and I was trying to be really good, and I was trying to sit him down. There's poop everywhere, pee everywhere, his clothes weren't on properly.
How did poop get everywhere if you were there?
Mandii, I don't know how it happened, but the girl was not sleeping, and she was running up and down the hallway. I kept trying to put her to bed. I'm like, please, I need to deal with your brother. Can you please lie down? Do you want a book? I was trying to do everything. She would not. She was jumping on the bed. So when they walked in the house, the boy had no pants on, poop everywhere, was not going to the bathroom. And he was supposed to be in bed because they came home at like 11 p.m. They were both supposed to be sleeping. The girl was running around, screaming, laughing. So they came into the worst situation ever. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I've been trying to get him to go to the bathroom. I put them to bed already, but they're getting up. She was not happy. I could just tell. She was like, just go home. Just go home.
Never called you again?
No. The way she looked at me and looked around and was like, just go home, please. Just go home. I was like, I'm so sorry. I really tried. Yeah. I tried texting her. I tried calling her after. I was like, if you just want to walk me through it a bit more, like, I really love your kids. Like, they're so nice. Like, no, never got back to me. Never got back. It was so awkward. Anyway, so babysitting is not for me. And then I became a YouTuber, and all is good now.
Yeah, potty training, from what I've heard, is not
And fun. The thing is, the mother admitted it was their first week doing it. So I think I was just put in a very bad time position because the kid did not want to cooperate.
Yeah.
He wanted a diaper, and so he was just freely pooping and peeing, and it was just not good. Anyways, we're going to have to close this off. We wanted to do like a pet peeve section, but we'll do that next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We are back, ready to go weekly, as long as no one else gets sick. But we're going to start getting more spooky. We have some cool set decor coming for the next one, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link down below that you can listen to our podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're there. And we will see you guys next week.
See ya!
Bye!